What do you think? Is that good?
Beautiful.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. I'm your host, JC, and our 1911 series continues. Today, I'm going to take the mystery out of the Sig Sauer 1911s. We've got the Max here, and we have the Spartan. So we're going to get into details on that. But before we get started here, do me a favor if you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button down in the corner. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps support the channels. Also, when you have an opportunity, check out my website, www.airgundetectives.com. On that site, we've got t-shirts, I've got hats, I got my Generation 2 bipods, and I even have a limited number of these compact scopes that actually work out pretty good. But go check out that website and see what I got to offer there. All right, let's get back to our 1911s here. Yeah, so anyway, our series is continuing, and those of you guys that don't know, I'm featuring different 1911s every month as part of our review process. So what we have here is we have two 12-gram CO2 blowback pistols. They shoot a .177 caliber steel BB. And these are what they call a partial blowback. Because if you look, that's where your blowback is. It's not a full blowback, it's more of a partial. However, it's still sufficient enough to cock the hammer exactly the way it needs to be. So that process actually works. But if you guys don't know this, usually with the partial blowbacks or the 9 blowbacks, you're going to get a higher velocity because it uses less air to push that slide back. So the full blowbacks are going to use more air as opposed to a non-blowback or a partial blowback. So you usually get a higher velocity out of the partial blowbacks. Okay, these have a 3-dot sight system on them, as you can see here. I think they normally come with 3 white dots. I've had these for a while. But the white dot, for some reason, the paint came out of the front, so I filled it in with some orange nail polish. Yeah, some of you guys don't like that, but nail polish works great on these sights. The loading system on these things, these have, first of all, they have a little stick magazine, as you can see that, a little stick magazine. But to load it, pull the cover off, and this has a unique loading system. It's got a cantilever system. So you bring this back like that, you'll slide your CO2 in, and then what you do is you got to close this on it. And you have to do it in one smooth movement, because if you don't, you're going to lose CO2. And then simply you just put the handle back on and you're good to go. You got your stick magazine. And it's that simple. But that's their loading system. These do feature a nice weaver rail. So if you want to put some type of aftermarket red dot sight on it, or you want to put other sights on it, you can do that. That's fine. The difference between these two guns, so I'll give you a close-up look at the Max here. I don't believe they make the Max anymore. I don't believe they do. But basically the only difference is the color and the trigger blade. This has a flat trigger blade. Other than that, they're 100% identical pistols. The sight system, everything is the same. That magazine I mentioned before, that holds 16 rounds. It's a 16-round magazine. The gun itself, it's hefty. It's a little over 2 pounds. It really feels solid in your hand. It's 8 3/4 inches long. Now they're claiming this will shoot up to 410 feet per second. So we'll see exactly how that performs when we go out and test it. But very, very solid gun. It really is. They feel really good in the hand. They have really good weight to them. They really do. And they're good looking. They are definitely good looking 1911 pistols. But it's like anything else. Looks are one thing. Let's go take them out, test them, see how they perform, and come back and talk about it. So stay tuned for the next segment. So let's see how our Sig 1911 does over the Crony. I'm just going to shoot 5 shots. We're going to shoot just basic zinc 5.1 grain BBs. I like the zinc. They don't rust if they land in the pool. Well, not right away anyway. I have time to get them out. All right, so let's just do 5 shots and see how well we do as far as velocity. It's not overly hot day, not overly cool day. It should be just about right. I think it's probably in the mid-70s right now. All right, shot number 1, 420. Shot number 2, 421. Yeah, that's very consistent. All right, shot number 3, 411. Shot number 4, 406. And we got one more shot to do. I'm giving the CO2 just a second to warm up just a little bit. All right. And finally, 395. As you can see, as the CO2 cools, the velocity starts to drop. But not bad velocity out of this at all. All right, let's move on to our next segment. Let's do a little accuracy test here on our Max and our Spartan, and we'll see how well they do. What we're going to do is we're going to shoot our 8-inch splatterburst targets. I'll aim center mass. We'll see how well they group. Anyway, I love these splatterburst targets. I love how it shows the impact point. I'll leave you guys a link down below. Anyway, we'll go ahead and shoot 5 shots. The Max here, it shoots a little higher than the Spartan. However, it seems to group just a little bit better. So I'm going to compensate for that, but what we're going to concentrate on is grouping. We want to see how we're grouping this pistol. But we're our usual 32 feet back, so go ahead and take a quick look. Now let's shoot 5 shots and see how well we do. All right. Like I said, this shoots a little high, and unfortunately you can't adjust the sights on it. There you go, not a horrible group, but as I said before, it shoots a little bit high. But the good thing about this, it's got a rail on it, so if you want to put some type of accessory on it, so you can, maybe a laser, some type of accessory, put a different sight on it, if you want precise shooting. But if you're just going to plink with this, you just aim a little low, you can figure that out. But that's just a characteristic with that one. This one shoots a little closer to point of aim, but not as quite as tight a group. So it's just kind of a luck in the draw with these. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, let's test the pull weight on our Sig here and see how well it does. We have our trusty Lyman trigger gauge. Let's just reset this and let's see how we do. All right, 5 pounds, 8 ounces. 5 pounds, 8 ounces. Very controllable trigger, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Let's do a little plinking with our Sig 1911s and see how well we do. It's always my favorite part because I like to knock things down. But we're at a usual 32 feet, and you can see there's a few little cans we're going to be knocking down and a few smaller objects. Go ahead, take a closer look. All right, see how well we can do. We'll start with the bottom row. All right. Got a surprise. You thought I was just going to shoot the Spartan. Surprise. We got the Max here. And this one's a little farther off. It shoots really high, so I really have to compensate. There you go. Not the most precise, but not bad. You can make it work, especially if you're just doing a lot of plinking with pop cans and things like that. They work out just fine. All right, let's move on to the final segment. All right, let's wrap this up with our conclusion. So how'd we do here? Not too bad. I don't think not too bad. But it's like any review, let's start off with the negatives. So I do have a few negatives with these 1911s. Number one is the point of aim. If you're not going to make an adjustable sight, then try to make sure that your pistol shoots closer to point of aim. And as you could say, these did not shoot at point of aim. You have to do a massive compensation for that. One of them was shooting real high, the other one was maybe shooting high and to the left. But anyway, that's a negative. At least give us the opportunity of maybe windage. So if this could possibly loosen up and move right to left, but it doesn't. I took it all apart. It does not do that. I also do not like the safety on this. They have a double safety on this. So why put a 1911 standard safety on this that you're supposed to flip it down with your thumb? It's got a little button you got to push first and then bring it down. It just takes the authenticity away. And the other problem I have with it is, it's supposed to be an ambidextrous safety, but the one on the right is just fixed. It does nothing. And that's that same way with both of these pistols. This just does nothing. It's just for looks. Another one of my negatives is the CO2 loading system on this. I really don't like it, and I'll show you a couple reasons why. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, so if we've got our CO2 loaded in here, a couple things. If you're not really quick with this cam, when you're bringing it up and you're squeezing it closed, it's going to leak CO2, and you can leak the whole CO2. And I've done it before where you're just kind of going a little lazier and you're not pushing quite as hard, not paying attention. You really have to concentrate and close that. Also, what I don't like about this is sometimes, and actually quite a few, the CO2 sticks in here. You can't get it out. So you actually got to get in here and you got to pry it out and get it out. You got to get the tip out and then get it out like that. So I don't like the cam loading system. The stick magazine, I'm not a big fan of that. I would prefer the CO2 that are loaded in the magazine, so you have a full dropout magazine with a valve in it. That's what I would prefer. But this is what it is. That's how it's designed. I mean, it's not horrible, but those are just kind of just my negatives on that, just a little bit. All right, let's talk about the positives on both these guns. As I said, the Max model, I'm not sure they make it anymore. I haven't seen it out there, but the only difference is the color and the trigger blade. Other than that, they're the same gun. But the positives of them, I like the power out of them. We got good velocity up. The manufacturer claims up to 410 feet per second. We got over that. We exceeded the 410. I like the shot count. You get about 70 to 90 shots depending on your weather. Depends if it's warm or not, you know, with CO2s. That's how they work. They actually grouped pretty well. Even though they weren't hitting at point of aim, they actually grouped pretty well. A halfway decent group. They have a strong blowback. You got to like that. That's kind of a nice, realistic feel with it. The backstrap safety on this actually works. You cannot pull this trigger. You cannot pull this trigger unless, I'll show you here, unless the backstrap is pushed. See this? So then you push the backstrap, and the hammer goes. So that's realistic. So the backstrap safety actually works on it. They have a good trigger. They really do. It's a very controllable trigger. It's got a nice release on it. Overall, they're really solid build. Like I said, they're over 2 pounds. They look good. And I don't know if you guys know, these are built in Japan. So these look good. They're all metal, which is great, except obviously for the grips. But all metal. So it's a very heavy, heavy gun. And I bet you didn't know this. So you see these little stick magazines? The same foundation on these guns can be found on the Winchester. And I'll prove it to you right now. So we pull their little stick magazine out, and guess what? The Sig stick magazine goes right into it. So it's basically the same foundation. Now I'll get in an in-depth review because it does perform just a little bit different, but it's basically the same engine in this. It's basically the same engine. It's the same setup. It's just cosmetically, it's different. Anyway, but we'll get into that. So one more positive I forgot to mention. This does not have the obnoxious white writing on it. It's got your warning label, but it's not in white. So it's, you know, it's not really obvious to the naked eye, which is good. Overall, they're pretty fun guns to shoot. They really are. And the fact that they have that Picatinny rail or that Weaver rail, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom, you put a laser on it, something like that, then you can be a little bit more precise with your shooting. But you got to remember, these are designed kind of to practice. If you have a real 1911, these will fit right in the holster if it's set up for a rail. These will fit in the holster so you can practice your different drills with it. But for the most part, they're for plinking. They're for having fun. And I believe that these will do the job definitely for you. So how would I rate these, considering the negatives, the positive overall? I'd give them 4 stars. They're 4 stars and probably worth adding to your collection because they are fun, solid, feel really good in the hand. And like I said, they're pretty frugal on CO2 as well. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of our 1911 series. Don't forget, this is where we take the mystery out of the air gun. Until next time, I hope you're well, hope your families are good. I hope you get a lot of shooting in. God bless and take care.